Good afternoon. Welcome to Second Thought Africa, July 28th, 2027. We will be talking today about or on the call for visionary leadership in Liberia. 179 years, and it seems like we are literally on a miracle run. We're playing rocking horse. So we we I'm a little bit speechless today because I'm not sure where to start from. But there's a need to change the way we've done stuff. We understand the nation was built on a faulty foundation. But it behooves all of us to take a step back and design a Liberia that all of us deserve, that is inclusive, a Liberia that does not have certain people who feel that they're entitled. That's what I'm here to talk about. And this stemmed from the conversation from an interview that alcohol intermediata, when we were growing up, these were the big sister, people who, the women voices that you will hear when we were growing up, or one of the voices per se. I was disappointed to hear her yesterday, but I'm not surprised when I can respect that she will speak to we are leadership as the president. I will respect that. That she stays with the issues that is confronting Liberia or with work that he did, okay, as a leader when he was given an opportunity, because majority of Liberians saw themselves in him, especially the poor, the natives, okay, who lived on the land for hundreds of years before the settlement or the settler that we call the free men of color. Y'all know they had a bureau here in the United States called the Freemen's Bureau. Okay. After the end of slavery. Okay. And that's what people voted for George Weah for. But yesterday when I listened to her, it was disheartening to listen to somebody who is older, giving where Liberia has been, the road traveled thus far, okay, the mayhem that will cause, the division that continue to permeate in our culture, classism, tribalism, religious divide, okay, and all of these things that have kept us behind nations that we fought to help liberate, to help get their independence. We were the mother, okay, of the Pan-African movement per se. Besides Ethiopia, we come second. The Ghana, the Nigeria, the Kenya. Liberia was the model, supposed to have been. But you have 300 families that ruled the nation for 130 years. You know, and people will come and say the good old days. It's merely history repeating itself. Because guess what? Those are the helm of power are telling you this is the good old day for them. They're doing perfect. You got people with PhD coming to tell you that 100 and some more years of independence celebration, even in the height of the war, during the height of the war, Liberian were having parties. Like the Roman, when things was getting bad, they were losing their value. What do? They created a coliseum. They collected slaves. They put them there to fight. They came in and brought bread while the people released their stress. That's what they're doing. That's exactly the concept that is following. Okay, so I'm gonna speak on. I'm gonna start with this video. And speaking on this video, listening to this video, my heart broke when people that I care for, people that I, but then I know some of them speak. Some of them got people who got daughters. Okay, let's listen, and then I will speak to that.
Her case has not been.
Listen.
57-year-old grandmother in Todi District says she was raped in January. 7 months later, her case has not been heard. No government official has visited her, and the family of the accused has approached her with money and gifts, asking her to drop the case. The head of the SGBV unit at the Ministry of Justice concedes a lack of funds has meant his office has secured just 2 convictions in 6 years. The vice president of the Association of Female Lawyers of Liberia calls the failure to deliver justice for victims a national emergency. For more on this story, go to fpa.news.
So you have a rape epidemic. Y'all listen, a rape epidemic. Because in 2020, 2021, the president of the time declared rape as a national emergency in Liberia. But in 6 years, we got it 2 convictions. No resources. No resources. And we anticipate that we are going somewhere as a nation. And what's sad is people that I know personally came under that post. Because the lady said no government official have visited to ask her who government official must visit. I mean, they will be sarcastic. The SVU, or the Special Victim Unit, that is headed by the Gender Ministry, those are government officials. They work for the government, they work for the people. Nobody have been there. You got an act of violence that is against women and children, and they tell you 2 convictions in 6 years because they know no money. You're psychologically, physically, okay, destroying women and children in your country. And there's no resource put into that. There's no way of protecting them. When this lady was raped, we all talk about it. She was here. She explained her ordeal. And no, and no. Okay, no. And you're asking her who's supposed to visit her. The funny thing is, really what it's at is, these are people that live in America. They're my brother, Thomas Awaji, but I know Thomas, okay? Thomas Awaji, and even women under that post, women that some of us are defending on the social media are under that post, who's supposed to go visit her because the government is in power. Like I said yesterday, Liberians do not have problem with rapists. They have problem with who did the raping and who was raped. Just as they don't have problem with the drugs being in the country. They have problem with who brings the drug in. Quitter, the bitter quitter. The whole Liberian public got in the street to protest. Today you have $1 billion worth of narcotic. Hard currency. And nobody wants to talk. Because when they talk, they will hurt their friends. They will hurt those who come to their businesses, or their business partners, or their lawmakers, or their friends, or their uncles, or their aunties. They will hurt them. So, even, and most of them believe, especially those in the higher hierarchy of things, they don't think that children are also at risk. Joy Howard Taylor, some were on drugs. She was vice president. It tells you. Yeah, the likelihood that the big people kids will be involved because they have options. They can leave the country. Their parents can create space for them, okay, to give them purpose, okay, because what drives life, what keeps kids going is purpose, okay. But we know majority of the downfall will come from our side of the divide, okay. I heard people saying, oh, Joseph Boaka's son, say he got nothing to do with the drugs. So now we just take his word for it. Have you guys investigated? Joe Biden was president of the United States, the greatest country in the world, the most powerful president in the world. His son was investigated. His son was investigated. However, you investigate him, okay? Instead of us waiting for him to tell us, okay, to tell us that he's in the, have you interrogated him? Okay, can he take lie detector tests to tell us? He needs to, that he's not a part, because his name is there. You get $1 billion worth of, I don't care what product it is, okay? Nobody, you saw ArcelorMittal, when they were coming to invest, I don't know how many hundreds of millions of dollars, how much hoop they went through, how many people they have to go through, what guarantee they needed that the investment will have a return on it, ROI, okay? But you got these people that bring in billions of dollars. It's goods. Let's just call it goods. But it's a goods that destroy the nation and destroy human being, okay? And it's a illegal goods that cannot get licensed to be transported anywhere. Somebody's bringing it into your country, okay? Billions of dollars worth. And you think they just gotta put it on the plane or put it on the ship? We know for a fact nobody swam to the ocean and brought it in. We know for a fact that a 4 kilogram of what do you call it, drum can bring in $1 billion worth of controlled substance into the country. So we know that for a fact. And we know all of the narratives that are being pushed. Number one, let me say this, and I'm going to continue to ask Pape Boaka and all the people that are with him. Listen, we did not hire Pape Boaka cabinet. And I do not want to hear that he does not know. You're quite making excuses. You do not hire somebody. It's like you are Buddhists, right? You sit, you craft a god, you mold it, you sit down, then you pray before it and give a sacrifice. Okay? I have nothing against those who want to worship that way. But when my life and the future of my nation is involved, I must speak. We hire Boaka believing that he was smart, believing that he was witty, that believing that he could do the job, believing that he had outlined the job and he has solution to the job. And you start making excuses for him. If the people around him are making him not to work, then the job that they hire him to do, he's not doing it. He needs to fire them because it is their duty to keep him in the loop, to keep him updated. Okay, it is his job to find out that this is my vision. This is the timeline. I want to check on this to make sure it's completed. It is his duty to learn and listen that every day, any training issue, anything that impacts the country, whether positively or adversely, especially adversely, okay? Because things that are positive, it will come regardless. But the things that are threatening the state, like drug infestation, here says Rebecca, okay, must be dealt with. So to come out 3 years almost later to say, oh, the people around the president, then it speaks to us as Liberians who hire these people that we say they can do the job. Then time come, then we become the worshiper and make these excuses. Like I say, Liberians do not have problem with corruption. They have problem with the person who is doing the corruption. Liberians do not have problem with rapists. They got problem with who is raped or who is doing the raping. That means we have no standard of morality. We are situational people. We practice morality when it benefits us. And we look away when it does not. And that's the problem. You know, Brother Eric Peabody asked this question today. What is Liberian morality? I've been asking that question all my life, all my adult life. Do we teach morality in our school, what we call ethics? Okay. Do we teach laws in respect to just coexisting, common, okay, coexisting laws in our school? Like say the golden rule, okay, treat people the way you want to be treated. You want kindness, be kind. Give people respect until you believe that they do not deserve it on the onset. Practice what you preach. Be a man or a woman of your words, meaning walk your talk. Are we a people? What is our morality? So it comes again that we do not have problem with stealing. We have problem with who benefit from the stealing and who steals. We do not have problem with being condescending or being prejudiced. We have problem with who is being discriminated against or who is the one discriminating. If the who is my person, then he's right or she's right. If the person has been violated is my person, then justice is required. And you don't build a nation that way, folks. You don't. You just don't. I listened to Intermiera Formula's interview. And I was disappointed again. I was very disappointed in her during the inauguration. Okay. These are people who have always been the tree falling in the middle of the road to deter the small children from passing because their legs not long enough to jump over. And they will not give you a happy hand to jump you over because they want to stay. They want you to stay behind the log. So they continue to do what they do. That's the issue. She does not have problem with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. She never did. Maybe she did not get what she wanted when Ellen became a leader. Because her brother, Boima, and Ellen, they all made a many attempts to make sure they annihilate all of us. Boima was head of communication when the group that came in 1994, 1995 with Kuwampa. He betrayed it and he stayed behind. What? Huh? So, like I say, I have historians in my house too. Like I say, maybe she did not get what she wanted from Ellen because her girls group, where she had her charity organization, Ellen donated to it. Maybe she wanted her own ambassador job back. Maybe she wanted more and she didn't get more. All right. But those were the people who didn't believe. Okay. Although I'm not a fan of Doe because he was supposed to have been the liberator. He become more greedy. I know girls that Doe would put the boyfriend out to sleep with them. I know a married woman who was one of my aunties that he threatened the husband. The husband had to leave the country because he wanted the man's wife. Okay, they tell you in all of those of you who understand or in religion, especially biblically speaking, and the world over, two things that destroys a man. Women, stay with the one that you have. Stay with your own. Stop trying to get into other men because what makes a man shame? His wife is his pride. But when I heard Miata yesterday, besides the money business from the inauguration where she just went quiet, I know this is where they want us to focus, but we're going to focus back on the drugs. I was disappointed. She is also telling me, somebody like me, my name is Yah. I need to stay in my place. My place is to go to Memphis and go on the farm for her. That's what she believes. Hey, George. My place for Miata formula is, because my name is Yah, if God sleep on my 4 baby on my back, lap out around me. That's where I belong. That's what she's saying. And I'm putting myself there. There has been no greater talent in sports in our lifetime out of Liberia in the next lifetime that stands shoulder to shoulder with George Weah. I didn't like his leadership. I tried to redirect. I made recommendation. At some point, his team out of Liberia were like, come and do consultancy. I'm like, yo, I don't need to come because I didn't want for people to close my mouth. Okay. I made several recommendations to them, but I knew they were bluffing. They were trying to get somebody in where they can get you to shut up. It was not about actually doing the job. And I was not cut off for that. I may not have survived it. Okay. So for Miata family, who were educated with our money, I don't care what she said. Okay. Her brother were educated with our money. These are government brats. Okay? These are the people who enjoy the spoil of the nation to come up to say to a child who went to what is known as a substandard school, who work literally with Johnny Tear butt and busted shoes. We have picture out there. Who live in Zin Shack or in a Pantage house like me, and say he should stay in his place. Where is his place? When Liberia and Japan had the same economy, GDP per capita, how many schools did our nation leader build? What was the quality of school? Was it competitive? We say in computer programming, garbage in, garbage out. Every nation that you know that have progressed, they make education a priority, because any nation, the literacy and your GDP are directly correlated, and the quality of work and the quality of life. So you tell him he needs to stay his place. I particularly take it personal because we live off the land. At some point, my father had to wash clothes and press clothes for people to have enough money for him to send his children to school, especially his sons. I became what I am because my mother made provision. And then I was able to leave Liberia and focus. I have to study double time where otherwise I would not have. I was smart. I wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer. I was good in sciences. I started school late. We've seen the difference in Caroline Waddle. They didn't get into school till she was 10, 11 years old. She had to move from up there to come to Monrovia to live with family for her to go to school. She's a PhD today. Oh, my in-laws who was stuck in refugee camp. Doctor or nurses. Because America made the provision and they brought their talent, their willpower, their skills, and wanting it back. What have you given the Liberian people as a leader that they have refused to come on top? You get this, take our money and give it to people you favor. You send them to a stand-up program called, I'm saying it, for third world country called Kennedy School. I went to Harvard and they don't produce. They come in with a bow tie and all these titles and they fail miserably. I'm saying that. Maybe the time will come I will even sue Harvard. Because at one point, the children at Harvard went against that particular program. Harvard is one of the most competitive schools in the world, most connected school in the world. All your Harvard tree in that place. The moment they're not in government, they can't get no more job. I'm saying it. I'm not biting my tongue. Okay? You please share the video. Okay? And you're sitting. You people have abused our people so long that they can't even tell the difference, that people are taking them for a ride because people only know what they know. Look at little man, 34, 35-year-old Ibrahim Traore can knock a chest and say at this point, my country has full security. Right now, the cotton that they've been planning, they're sewing their own clothes, their army uniform. They ain't got to come to New York to beg for army uniform. They ain't got to go to Russia to beg for a Russian army uniform. When the first trip that the President Traore took outside of Africa, to Russia, they're asking, what do you want? Japan asked and China asked him to send him rice. He said, no, I want knowledge transfer. I want my people to be trained. They have built their own armor, their own military armor car, fortified it in their own country. They're building engineers and techs. What is your vision for the country? What Liberia needs at this point is a visionary leader. You got the country infested with narcotic. Our children are being chased in the Do River here and there because you don't want people to know that they are, you call them Zoko, they're strung up on drugs. You came to power talking about that. And then here we go. I'm yet to see 4 rehabilitation homes going up concurrently, divided in region. If the case are in Monrovia, where they're familiar with it, take them all the way to the southeast, where they don't know their way around. Take the one there from the southeast, bring them to the north. I don't see you hiring professionals who are drug counselors, psychologists, and psychiatry. Being on drug is not just a habit. When you are addicted, it becomes a mental health issue. It's a medical issue. It takes hold of your life. It takes hold of your body. It clings onto your body, your mental ability, your cognitive system. So it's not merely just smoking or taking. It becomes your life. It becomes your reason to wake up. It becomes, if you do not, you go into shock. Some people died. So it's a whole side that you need the full attention. What are you doing? That's what you came to. The first day you say go and do a drug test where you get to see the test result. You and your vice president. You took over. You done nothing as compared to what you have gathered for you and your family. You read the mansion that you're supposed to move in, where you're burned down. You're not spending over $5-7 million on that same mansion. You're living rehab in the mansion where it's the president resident. You are redone your whole house. You are bought the whole land and redone your whole house. You're living there. While Liberians can't find food to eat. Factory, 4 a.m. You show up after war that displaced people. You know, even in America, after the war in America built up buildings with 400 and 500 units for the people to move into it who were coming from different areas. We were relocating, especially after slavery, the Duncan Avenue, New York, all of those places that were safe for Black people to be. Ibrahim Traore took over. Right now, just Ethiopia. Let me tell you what happened a month ago. Ibrahim Traore asked to build a dam in that place because they've been doing work. He asked for less than $1 million. The Burkina Faso around the world, they raised over $400 million and sent it because they trust him. You think, Pape Bouaka, you just came to power. You're now borrow close to $1 billion already and justify it among yourselves. All day, Kafwan, uno boy land. The only way you know that World Bank and African Development Bank. World Bank give her this. World Bank say this. It's like in my own house. You come to my house. And then I'm telling you, my brother was living in DC with his own wealth, with his own life. Oh, say that how much my house is worth. My brother said this, my brother, not even, that's just a stranger. That the problem that brought the president and the prime minister of Senegal, the same World Bank, they were cooking the book. I don't know any nation in the world that World Bank got borrowed to that have less than, let me do it hard, 50% unemployment, that have developed without owing their country land. It's a new kind of slavery. We get an old man with 40-year experience to liberate our country. And everywhere you turn at drugs. They're beating our children. They're raping. Now they say no money. They're not raping only big little girls anymore. Grandmothers. Somebody my age. And older. That's a curse on a nation. And I wanted to talk briefly about Samuel Jackson. For me, like I said, I would speak to things. Samuel Jackson had never been my guy. He was one of those people, the first time he was my brother's friend. Okay, yes, he loudmouth. The first time I met Samuel Jackson in person, that when that was the looking to me and to the people of Georgia. And I work with people with different disability. Seizure, epilepsy. You know, when this story with Samuel Jackson where first came out, like when people were like, they were like, oh, she's not epileptic, she does not have epilepsy. It was seizure. Seizure is one time occurrence, or maybe two or three. Chronic seizure and continuous seizure is what we call epilepsy. It's a neurological issue. It has something to do with your brain. Like for instance, a co-worker of mine, Dolly, was having seizure. She was having, she had epilepsy. Looking to find out she had brain tumor. Since the movie, she had few. She don't have it anymore. Left for go on to college. The problem with Liberian is, most Liberian, we're a jack of all trades. We know everything. We know about every subject. And we specialize in every subject. So because we know nothing. When that picture was released by Gregory Coleman and his group, because Samuel Jackson was giving a hard time about his government, hard time about the economy, they published that woman's wife's picture. Yeah, he said some stuff that he should not have said. And I see a lot of people think he needs to be punished because he said he killed some Salif. Why are we selective? I have advocated for the last 40 some more years. The last 10, 11 years, I have spoken. I have visited almost capital to United Nations, spoken at for War and Economic Crime School. Papa Waka promised a War and Economic Crime School. Justice and accountability. You just heard a woman gets ripped. And in 6 years, you get 2 convictions. Although you declared a state of emergency for rape. Not raping girls, raping boys, raping old ladies, raping babies. Ministers are involved. The last we checked, Pape Boaka, nephew, Francis Nimale, call a girl for a job. He raped her. We talk and talk, they push it down. And I continue to say to the Liberian people, Liberians do not have problem with rapists. They have problem with who gets raped and who does the raping. That's what Liberia is. That's what we are. So I'm going to end tonight with Samuel Jackson. The mark on that woman's head, it was the operation that they did because she had a hemorrhage. Because she had seizure. When you saw that lady laying down on that couch, after seizure, they have withdrawal because they get beat up. Your energy leaves you. You are literally, like we can say back home, those are I'm from Nemakante. Like they say, like when they what do you call it? When they broke construction, where you call anaconda, when it swallows certain thing, it lays down, and anything back home, we can say even a child can walk on it without doing anything. Once you get seizure, okay, when you're being beat up after that, you are literally not yourself for some times. You got to get, takes a lot out of you. It's to bring your neurological issue, okay? That's why you need neurology. Now, the question for me that begs and answer as a logical person, as an informed woman is, and I've done a lot of research on this, and I want to do that because I'm an educator and I educate people from all walks of life, all background, all medical background, okay? Some have 504, different type of disability, okay? Even kids with seizure. I had a kid in my class last year. Brilliant little boy. Brilliant. But he suffered from seizure. And the mom thought he needed to be in special education. I told her no. We call it not just special education, we call it small group. I told her no. He can be there, special education, but he didn't need to be in small group. He can be in co-taught because you want him to stay focused. Okay. No. So for the question again that begs an answer is, this woman died 5 months ago. Uptop said take 72 hours to get a result. You were supposed to do your test. The man you are accusing, if you feel that he is not guilty or he needed more answer to get his own pathology to come into the country, but you did that test 5 months ago because you did not want the result. Liberian people, I see y'all going all out. Samuel Jackson, he did this, that God, that not God. You have to go out of that. You have to go out of that. If you want to punish him for something else, punish him for something else. But justice cannot be, you cannot manipulate justice. Okay? I had an opportunity to speak to this girl mother. This girl had been sick for years. I'm not here to back anybody. I'm all for women, but I'm for justice first and foremost. Why didn't you, after you did the test, 72 hours later, why didn't you give this man the right to bring in other people? We remember when Odell Sherman, they said that they want such and so person to do the autopsy. We were given opportunity to get a doctor from out of DC to go to Liberia, although the CDC government refused to allow Dr. Mitchell to bring in the samples, the specimen that he took out to bring to America for testing. They refused for him to take it, but he gave his visual report. Because the semen and all of that was taken, they didn't want him to bring it. The girl died in Joel Howard's brother's house, and she was molested by them. I still got the recording from Pastor Gideon's, whatever his name is, daughter. I still got it on their phone. That's why I have not the phone right here. That's why I have not changed this phone. I had this phone for almost 10 years. That's why I refuse to change it, because they're recording on this phone. From Odell Sherman. Why wait? Why wait for 5 months? And that's why I say Gregory Coleman is a fraud. I'm sorry, and I'm going to continue to call him that. Okay? Like the little girl that was raped by Brian McGill. Brian McGill said he have never seen the little girl. People put in place where he was. They did the little girl to the referral hospital, the preferred hospital that they told her to go to. She went to that hospital. 4 months later, Gregory Coleman came back again to tell the family they must send it again, when he had said that they have expressed this little girl's sample and carried out. 4 months later, he came back to ask for another sample. Where you get it from? Where you get somebody spraying from inside of the baby? Where you get it from? To not have a period and everything. 4 months later, where you get it from? Is that the kind of Liberia you want for your children? Or it's only for the other people's children? The Auntie Miata said, we the people, the farmers' children, the people of little means children. Auntie Miata said, we don't deserve leadership. We don't deserve to be respected. We know our place. We should stay in our place like those days. We should stay in the kitchen or in the back of the house. Our job is to stand in line when they and the children are moving and dance for them, open door for them, clean their yard, press their clothes, eat from the cross pot that the people did, that the white people did to the slave in the United States. Create a substandard school that when our children come from there, they cannot compete with the rest of their children, because the goal is not to impact the whole nation. It's not to grow, okay, a competitive society. That's not the goal. The goal for them is not meritocracy. They're trying to create a caste system. What did that caste system carry on? It brought us 1980. It brought us 1990 and 14 years of civil war. And you people were the orchestra. You were the head. Your brother. Okay? I know I see Darlington calling there and what they call it, Moses Yamin there, who were advocate yesterday, backing where Auntie Miata said, love the woman, respect the woman. But I'm disappointed, and I will speak to that. I was disappointed to see her, to just pay respect to her. They supported Bwaka. I supported Bwaka in 2017. Bwaka was like a father to my brother. But I've known Bwaka for years. For more than 20 years. I supported in 2017. And as closer as I got with him, and I found out this is not for me. I can't support him. I remember 2020, what was that? I can't remember the year. And he was here downtown at the Continental Hotel. Went there to see him. It took the puppy with everybody waiting for him almost 4 hours to get ready to come downstairs. And I look at him like, hell no. That would be wrong for me to do that, to put my people in that. Okay? Granted, the Liberian people have elected him. Do the damn job. Now tell us, where did the money come from? The $10 million, is that play a villa or is a lab you're building to start brewing drugs? That's what we need to know. What kind of villa is that? In today's economy, where the $10 million came from? The first thing that you people could not even tell us what you were doing. Journalists, Spoon, and other people have to bring it out. $10 million. You just broke down home on the bypass Satan area and displaced thousands of Liberians, some who have been on that property since the 80s. And they walk in, destroy a lot of things. The people have lived there. Then you got a Nigerian man, a Sierra Leonean man telling us in this day and age who was a ECOMOR in our country. Nowhere in the world, wartime, that take and coming back and say the ball land from who? We were on a due rest. Our people were running. Where does an ECOMOR who are making $200-300 a month get money from to buy acres and acres of land? What process is he a resident? Do people just leave their country and come to our country and buy land? And then the president say, God, not making new land. You leave the people homeless, but you're going to build in Foya. What is that building for? Who going to sleep there? Our border. When Yake told you, say he's crazy. Do I agree with everything Yake said? Do I think everything is in line? No. But sometimes before the new moon, we used to see that the crazy man, most of the time, the crazy man talking to you, if you pay attention. I saw an old lady who I believe was suffering from dementia the other day. In 2026, Liberian young people grabbed the woman and beat her jealous. A couple of years ago, when that lady at West Point, that old lady, where they beat our cripple and say she was witchcraft, and she ended up dying when we got to it. In 2026, your young people cannot see somebody. I am not 60 yet, but almost 60. My key in my hand, and I'm forgetting it. Sometimes when my children tell me, Mommy, we told you, I say you're write it down or text me because I don't remember. I have a sister whose mother-in-law will come and tell you she was in Paris yesterday with her other daughter. She's not lying. She has early dementia. It's mental illness. It happens to young people, but it happens mostly to old people. That's why in America, they have cities they are building for people who got dementia. They keep the place. They make it normal, but they're in a fence. They're not allowed to leave. They're very expensive to live there. They will tell you stories that are not happening, but that's what their brain is telling them. We have, I don't know that guy. I don't know what happened. I'm not seeing on my feet. That's a retired lawyer whose father got full-blown Alzheimer's. And the man will get her and say, where is my wife? He will eat and say he didn't eat. Oh, where's my charger? Okay, see, give me 1 second. Okay, folks, I'm about to finish up, but let me plug in my laptop really quickly. The trainings are too long. Too long. Got a whole week training. Whole week. some of those things that they're old, but anyway, they're making sense now. People making law, stay making law. Okay. So I'm gonna be here. So Miada family is telling us, we the farmers' children, we that say the love of liberty met us here. We wouldn't come from the Congo basement. We wouldn't come in from Nigeria to hang out with the who among who's and make Liberia our home. We wouldn't come from Sierra Leone or from any other country and come in and hang up and insert ourselves and lord over the people. You are telling us, the young people, not the young people, but the children of us, that we do not belong. We should know our place. That they, the one who's supposed to be. You see what Mr. Cumming can speak to? You don't choose the family you were born in. You don't choose the tribe you were born in. You don't choose your religion. You don't even choose your name. When I was born in Imiya, based on our culture and tradition. No. And quite frankly, I love my name. I was born so woke. I have an English name. I have a Greek name, actually. I decided I don't want to use that. Was I being defiant? I was being true to myself. I love my name. That's Cindy. Different, beautiful. Stand completely out. If your name is Joseph, that's fine. If your name is Judy, that's fine. If your name is Cornelius, that's fine. That's your name. But I'm a native. And I know better. We all come from, we say, mano, go, they said the bird come from different places and they will fold the tree, make it fill. And if you want to succeed, okay, you want to have that cohesion, you want to have that togetherness. We have to become a soluble. What the hell are you? To can't somebody tell somebody who they belong. That's the thing they say. Where Alexander Cummings is coming from. You cannot name any business CEO in the 21st century, in the world, in the United States, or legacy. I'm not talking about the .com years. These are all new organizations. The AI, the .com, these are all new inventions, okay? Somebody will say they are not, the military complex, it was initially used as a private military operation. I'm talking about it being public. Being a second in command of American legacy, 100-year-old. This is no organization, La Coca-Cola, a $40 billion industry with over 70,000 direct employees and more. 200 bartering companies all around the world, and the farmers that they impact and the people that they employ. You think about that. They have more employees than the whole of Liberia has. So Liberia need a visionary leader. Liberia need a leader that can roll off their sleep and work and understand what it's like. Liberia needs a leader who does not need or greedy for Liberian people money, because that leader has lived. At this point, we don't need trial and error. We want a leader that has proven record. Okay, I hear your Liberian people say, where are the opposition? This is not an opposition issue. What's happening in Liberia is civil society issue. It's citizen issue. When in democracy, when you hire people to work for you, you hold them the hell accountable. You don't start pointing the other direction. And if people get in line, y'all will be the same one. And the man say he was first, he go stand out there, the distance and say to him, or the man guy in the street, nobody didn't come. Y'all used to call backup Matthew, Phil agent. He fought for you and you have to have the voice you have today. You call him Phil. The other person will be like backup Matthew, will be like Tipote. Those are the people who put their chest out for you. You call them names. Then when you now make your decision of where you want, that is in your face, that has not changed, then you can, where is the opposition? The opposition were on the ballot. Tiawan Gonklo were on that ballot. Yeah, you don't know comments, you say, but Tiawan Gonklo were on that ballot. Samuel Freeman were on that ballot. You want young people? Clarence Mulba were on that ballot. You want a woman? Other women were on that ballot. I'm not even going to call their names. And I'm going to be prejudiced with that. Alexander Cummings, okay, a business leader of the free word, who gave people like Paul Kagame a platform to stand on, to get a voice out in the early years when people were calling them dictator, was on that ballot. The one who built you the first STEM school, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics school in Liberia, the first one, over $5 million invested, was on that ballot. Build a test school in Burraville for millions of dollars for women and men and children to get training, on that ballot. The man who put the first computer lab at LU, before you even heard about his name, was on that ballot. Okay? The man why in 2014, when the people you hire to work for you, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf people were running away from Ebola, were coming to the country with help and support for the nation, was on that ballot. But now where the opposition? You are the damn opposition. Don't you know that? You hire them. You stand up to them. That's what democracy is. That's why when we tell you education is important in democracy, you must know your right and responsibility as a citizen. That's why when we're telling you build schools, at most, let our people be able to understand 8th grade level. And besides, education is the easier way, the faster way to mobility. You can work from anywhere when you're informed. You can survive anywhere when you have solid education. So, I say my piece. Gregory Coleman, you did a lot of stuff on Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Young man that Michael Allison disappeared. Find your body on the beach. Harry Greaves disappeared. Find the body on the beach. We know all of you are in cahoots. But what you're doing, you as a young man, your name very bad. I was at a program in Virginia a couple of years ago, and people who knew you personally, what you did in Liberia, under the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf Coleman. I was disgusted for a young man. I also know the story, what you did in Banga to that young man that ended Nelson helping you to take you to Nima County. Now you know I know. People have been giving me story. Your hand is so sore for a young man, and you have not changed. You're dirty. Okay? So I will say this. You kept saying Jackson wife party for 5 months to prove your point that you're in charge. That's what it was. That's inhumane. That woman's mother had been crying for her child, to bury her child. You have 72 hours. This is. I'm going to go to sleep, folks. I'll talk to you later. I spend my hour and I'm gone. I will say it to all of you. But I'm going to play a piece of Samuel Jackson interview that he did. And then I'm going to call it a night and I will go. those that are doing the recording to okay. I have no copyright to this. What is this? This is from Front Page Africa, and I will share this.
Okay. I'm making this statement not to litigate the issue of my death, of my wife's passing, with the press, but clearly from the information that I'm getting now, that this is a political case. This is not about finding the finding justice for Tony. Okay. So press conference statement on charges against Samuel Jackson following the passing of attorney Ntomikaisi Innocentia Kumalo. My wife was an attorney admitted to the High Court in South Africa. She was a graduate of the University of South Africa, law degrees, BCom and LLB. So the fallacy that my wife was not a lawyer will also will be demolished. But look, good day, ladies and gentlemen. I have called this press conference to update the public on a case involving the tragic and untimely passing of my wife, attorney Intombikaisi Innocencia Kumalo, otherwise known as Tony Kumalo, and the charges that have since been brought against me. My wife passed away at John F. Kennedy Hospital at approximately 7:20 a.m. on Friday, March 13, after receiving medical care for injuries and complications connected to what have consistently understood to be a medical condition, which was first diagnosed on December 23rd, 2025 at Jamaica General Hospital in New York. My wife had two double seizures on Delta Airlines coming from Accra to New York. And the most severe was the one like 45 minutes before the landing of the plane, where she hardly made it. So there was an emergency landing. All airplanes were stopped from landing at the airport at that time so we could land. And the ambulance and emergency personnel came to the aircraft and took my wife to Jamaica General while I had to go through immigration, take the suitcases to the hotel, and come back to be with my wife, where she was like really, really out of it. Okay. So that was the one incident from the seizure. The other incident from the seizure was uh, May 28, 2025. That is a 911 report I will give to some of you guys, where my wife, when I was downstairs in my house at 217 Cold Springs Court, where I heard this big sound. I was downstairs. I heard this big sound from one of the bedrooms. I went up there, and my wife was lying down in a pool of blood. I called 911. The emergency medical people came. She came through. She refused to go to the hospital, but you received from the 911 call that my wife hit her head, but this time was on a carpeted floor, and in almost the exact same spot where she fell down on May 12th. No, I'm sorry, on March 12th, 2026, here in Liberia, in the bedroom back there. Okay. In 2023, my wife also had an incident at Royal Hotel where she fell on her nose. She injured her nose so badly, she bled for 3 days at AMI Hospital, the Expedition Hospital right by City Hall. You know the South African hospital there? That's where she stayed We have the medical record for that. Okay. And on March 9th, while Mr. Dwayne Ben and I were here in the living room, my wife was in the bathroom. We heard a sound, and my wife had fallen and hit her head on the sink. Excuse my language. She pulled all over herself, and we had to, bring her through. He held her, and he asked me to get some cold water, and we brought her. That was like 4 days before her death. Okay. So clearly, ladies and gentlemen, my wife has medical condition. If there's a trial, we will also prove that her medical condition predates her coming to Liberia. There was incidences in South Africa where the family had to be called on her job when she had an incident, and she was also taken to the hospital. The family is consistently clear that they know me, they know their daughter's history, and I was always informing the mother on incidents involving my wife. Okay. So, Tony did not pass away at home. On March 12th, at approximately 10:30 a.m., when I came from the radio station, don't want to go back too much into it, but I left my house at 8:20. My wife was sleeping. I went to OKFM to have a radio program, kissed my wife on the forehead, and when I came back at 10:20, she was sprawled on the floor in a pool of blood. That's what happened, okay? Okay, so she did not pass at home, okay? When we took her to Catholic, she was there for 7 hours with the diagnosis with brain injury, but Catholic has no neurosurgeon, so we had to wait for Dr. Alvin Joe to get back to JFK, and we couldn't take my wife right away because there was no ambulance at Catholic. The ambulance had broken down, so we had to call an ambulance from as far away as Nizo. We got my wife there. She was examined. The CT scan was given to Dr. Dole, and he said he was going to do his best, but it was a 50-50 chance. So that's what happened. So she did an operation that night. You see the surgical marks on my wife with the black threads. Those were from brain surgery that night. Okay, those were not from a gash to her head by anyone. Okay, so not even 2 hours after her passing, heavily armed officers of the Liberian National Police, acting on the order of Inspector General Gregory Coleman, surrounded my residence after earlier sending what appears to be intelligence officers to check around my residence. Ladies and gentlemen, in Liberian history, the death of a spouse has rarely, if ever, resulted in such immediate and forceful police action, especially against an ailing 73-year-old man who had barely begun to mourn his wife. I wish to address the conduct of the Police Inspector General Gregory Coleman and the public handling of the tragic death of Tony Khumalo and the manner in which sensitive material were used to shape public opinion before the facts were properly tested. Inspector General Coleman's public posture appeared to be driven not by settled evidence, but by street gossip, speculation, and a premature narrative that cast an innocent man as guilty before due process could run its course. Images
Alisa, question
of
for you.
bruising on my wife,
Hold on.
whose souls
Do
remain
you remember?
unexplained and suspicious, were presented to the public in a manner that invited outrage rather than careful inquiry. Most troubling was the release of intimate and graphic photographs of my wife, including images showing bruises on her chest, bruises on her chest that are consistent with CPR resuscitation efforts, and surgical marks on the back of her head following medical intervention. The decision, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, the decision to expose those images to public view was not an act of justice, transparency, or professionalism.
I'm going to stop here. Okay. I'm going to stop here where he was about to say this act violated her dignity. Maybe I'll let him say that, then I'm going to call it. I'm going to say goodnight to you. Okay. And if I were your wife, if I was your mother, and such thing happened to me, would you
It was
want me to be
calculated to
exposed like that?
inflame public sentiment against me. These actions have the intended effect. Why? CPR resuscitation efforts and surgical marks on the back of her head following medical intervention. The decision, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, the decision to expose those images to public view was not an act of justice, transparency, or professionalism. It was deeply harmful. It was a deeply harmful act that violated her dignity and was calculated to inflame public sentiment against me. These actions had the intended effect. While I was detained without access to my phones, computers, or the full ability to respond, at the very moment public anger was being fueled, I was deprived of the tools needed to defend myself, correct falsehoods, or explain the medical and factual context surrounding my wife's injuries. The public now sees more clearly that Inspector General Coleman was not simply following evidence where it led. He was manufacturing a narrative and attempting to make the dilemma. He was trying to make the available information to conform. He was manufacturing a narrative and attempting to make the available information conform to it. Once that narrative began to collapse, he faced a dilemma of his own making. Admit that the early accusations were wrong or continue defending a false position because too much of his public integrity had already been invested in it. You can't change calling me a person of interest, calling me a suspect, detaining me for hours, putting in on social media ghoulish images of my wife with the surgical marks, with the bruises on her chest, and other photographs of unexplained origin. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, he faced the dilemma of his own making. Admit that the early accusations were wrong or continue defending a false position because too much of his public integrity had already been invested in it. The fear of losing his job, the fear of the unity partisans who wanted to shut me down. Now they won't have another means to shut me down, and it would be shame on them. On March 14, I was detained for questioning and held in police custody for 3 days. 3 days, during which I was treated first as a person of interest and later as a suspect in my wife's death. The police obtained a search warrant and visited my premises at least 7 times between March 14 and March 16. I'm sure all of you saw them coming back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth To the point where my own attorney said, listen, guys, you're making yourself look silly. Stop coming to this man's house if you can't find anything. You know what I was coming from? It was coming from information that Gregory Coleman was getting from a friend of my wife who had lesbian interest in my wife. And she was feeding Gregory Coleman this because she was unhappy that my wife, she could not get an opportunity to be with my wife. And every time she saw me in public, she cursed me out. She wanted to fight me. On New Year's Eve, 2023, she had verbally attacked me in front of witnesses at Royal Hotel with my wife. Clearly, she has an obsession with my wife. Her name is in the indictment. The last name is Allison. She calls herself Monique Tattoo. She was the source of the fake intelligence that Gregory Coleman was getting. She had photographs of my bedroom in my old apartment with objects that were blunt objects that could have been used to hit my wife. Those photographs were sent to Mr. Coleman, and the search warrant indicated those items. But when they came to this house, they found none of those. So clearly, ladies and gentlemen, R.G. Gregory Coleman was being fed a lot of malarkey. Okay. So I was detained for questioning and held in police custody for 3 days, during which I was treated as a person of interest. And again, like I said, they visited my house about 7 times. And throughout this process, and I cooperated fully with the police. On March 16, the police ordered an autopsy to be conducted on my wife's remains at St. Moses Funeral Home. If you can recall, my ladies and gentlemen, what did the IG say when the autopsy report was going to be released? 72 hours, am I correct? 72 hours. Well, it's going to 5 months. Where's the autopsy report? Where is the autopsy report? The autopsy was conducted by Dr. Zubon Pate in the presence of several individuals. And the autopsy report that I have through divine providence, that I have confirmed with authorities at JFK, that this is genuine, we have the names of the people who were present during that autopsy report on March 16, 2026. Okay. So the representative of the South African embassy declined to enter the room where the autopsy was being conducted and reportedly informed the police that he would accept whatever report they presented. Wow. 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 Why would a representative of the South African embassy refuse to go in the room where the autopsy to be conducted to represent the people of South Africa and the family of Ntombikaisi Innocentia Khumalo? That was his job. That was a dereliction of duty. And that could be probably intentional. That's what they said in the bottom of the place where people were supposed to sign. But you know what I think? I think he was in that room. I think he saw what the doctors were telling him, what the doctor was telling him that day was exculpatory. So 5 months later, the South African embassy, which has a vested interest in this matter, has not requested or demanded Liberian authorities to give them an autopsy report. Okay, after the autopsy was conducted,
I've done 17 minutes of the 46 minutes. You can go ahead and watch it for yourself. Okay. All of you have pictures of this woman. She was beat up in her chest. She's a very fair skin, like my kids, literally like my son or my daughter. Okay, if you do that, you could also get bruised depending on how much pressure. If somebody need to be resuscitated, whoever perform the CPR, that's why you get when people giving based on your size and people are giving you breath or are giving CPR, give you compression in your chest. The certain amount of weight. Okay, if you have somebody who maybe 110, 150, 120 pounds, you use different kind of strength to do that. Okay, and people risk will collapse during that time, especially when the doctors are trying to save them and they're in grave danger. I'm not saying that's what happened here. I am saying, okay, if you go, there's site out there. Go look in Facebook. Got a lot of sites with people who suffer from epilepsy. They ask their own question. Go there and ask questions. They will answer them for you. All right. You live in the AI age. You got AI doctor who got thousands of one doctor brain. Go ask question. That's it. I'm going to stop here. So we need an autopsy report. So we are second scrutinize. So some of us can take the copy to our own doctor, then so they can explain it to us. Some of us got doctors then in our family, so we can take it to them so they can explain it to us. So all of us can be a part of this. Okay? Nobody live in a bubble anymore. This is the new age. Listen, let me say in my George family voice. Hey, Mercy, my carbon copy. you're too beautiful. Yes, but I'm gonna go. Okay, we want to find out. I want to know the truth. I'm a judicial person. I do not particularly care if that big person, that small person. I just want the truth. If Saint Jackson did it, let him be. But let's bring out the truth. Let's do that. Okay. So that would be the end. We want to know 3 things that I talk about tonight. The $10 million project in Foya, that building, is it a lab for drug manufacturing, or is it for the Liberian people? How come the president does not know? Where did the money come from? We want to know. Okay. The $19 million drugs, we want to know how it got the people who carry to the airport, the driver, and everybody need to be arrested. And the people who call and say, go pick up my stuff, need to be arrested. Okay. We also want to know there's $1 billion worth of drug that is in Liberia. Okay. Nobody, no smart person. Okay. My small sister, my daughter, Mercy here, she made business in Liberia. I'm sure she will not take $100,000 worth of business just take it. And there's no trusted person that she can go to pick it up. We're talking about $1 billion. When people come into Liberia to invest $500 million or $1 million, okay, we're talking $1 billion worth. Billion. We say million. We say hundreds of millions. We say $1 billion. And y'all won't tell us what. We'll talk to you later. Y'all, thank you. I stayed longer than I anticipated, but good night, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you Thursday night. All right. And I think the last thing was Ente Miara. Ente Miara owe us the farmer children, the native children who can speak good English. The people from little means who don't come from maybe some river, or they don't come from the upper class, that we work hard to get to where we are. You owe us an apology. Take that nonsense you said back. That was nonsense. I don't care who backed you. All right. We may not agree with we are leadership, but me, Cindy Martin, in the America during the war, no man, no pa, watching CNN, ABC, our people moving back and forth. The only thing that was positive coming out of Liberia was George Weah when he played. The people say where. So I will give to Caesar what is due Caesar, and to God what is due God. Miara Boyman, your family, all you people have ever been, you're being leeches on the country. Go talk to your brother, the absentee general. The people who started all of this with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. I'll talk to you later. Y'all good night.